Player ratings then. Everton 1, Aston Villa 2 at Goodison Park. Another home defeat by Everton and another defeat which leaves us all, I think, thinking just end the season now. There's not much point, you know. I don't even want to talk about Europe. I don't even want to think about Europe. But at this point, even if we do finish in Europe, I don't really care. That's how far I've gone now with this season. These types of results, with these types of performances. Aston Villa are a decent side. They've got some decent players, but Everton, if we seriously want to be looked at as a contender for breaking into the top 6, you've got to be winning those games of football, and we didn't only not win, we were absolutely abysmal. So anyway, look, we've already done the instant match reaction. Let's get straight into the player ratings. Jordan Pickford, I've given him a 9, and it starts high, and this is the only player who gets anywhere near that sort of score, to be honest with you. I thought Jordan was excellent today, absolutely excellent. He's a player we've spoken about on a number of times in recent weeks and months, and a player who we've spoken about how much he's improved and how much he's matured. And listen, today Jordan Pickford kept it from being 4-5-1 to Aston Villa. He's made a bad performance and a bad result. He's stopped that from being an absolute utter embarrassment today, and I think it was an embarrassment anyway, but you get where I'm coming from. He made 3-4 absolutely brilliant saves, denying Ollie Watkins, denying Traore, denying various other Aston Villa players, and in reality the defence in front of him crumbled in front of him from minute 1 to pretty much minute 90. They were absolutely atrocious, and Jordan Pickford stayed strong and pulled out some real big saves. Didn't really have anything to do with either of the goals. Don't think he could have done much either. I mean, the first one is dreadful by Mason Holgate, and Ollie Watkins just slots it past, and the second one is an absolute fantastic finish from a player who's left basically unmarked. So yeah, I don't think Jordan had anything to do or could do anything with either of the goals, and he made a few really big saves to keep us in the game. So again, Jordan is, you know, he didn't win us the game this week, but he kept the scoreline down and kept it from being a real embarrassment. So Jordan's getting a 9. Listen, you might think that's too generous, but I don't think the lad put a foot wrong, and I think he kept the game competitive. At times when our defence may as well have been sat next to me on the couch. Luca Dean's getting a 4. Don't think it was his best game whatsoever. In fact, I think he was quite poor today. Defensively, he got caught a couple of times. There was one opportunity where I think they had a corner and we looked to counter-attack. I think it might have been Sigurdsson looked to counter-attack, and Dean just made this ball-busting run down the left-hand side. And look, you might say it's harsh to criticise him for that, because if Sigurdsson would have made the pass, if the counter-attack would have continued, then Dean would have been free with loads of space on the left-hand side and could have created something. But the trouble with that, and you know, the risk with that is always that if the ball gets intercepted, which it did get intercepted, then you're completely up the other end of the pitch and your defensive duties are null then. And you would like to have hoped that Mason Holgate or Ben Godfrey and one of the midfielders would have dropped back into that left-back position to cover Luca Dean. But that's the trouble with this Everton team at the moment, and that's the trouble with Luca Dean making these ball-busting runs. It's all well and good, because you can say, well, he's an attacking-minded fullback, he needs to get forward, but it's been evidently clear and evidently, you know, shown over the last few weeks or so and today that when he does make those runs, nobody's dropping back. Nobody's thinking, right, I'll move into that space now because he's gone forward to attack. Nobody's doing that. So he's making those runs, and he's being let away with it on a couple of times in recent weeks because the counter-attack hasn't come back, or the ball hasn't been intercepted, or it's gone out to play further up the pitch. But this time it was intercepted, going to come right back at us. And I think it was Watkins just played a simple ball through to Traore, who's left. You'd actually see on the replay, Traore's coming this way and Luca Dean's running that way, looking back. And Traore ends up having a shot, and I think Jordan Pickford makes it a good save again. And I think that was the one where he tried to chip Jordan Pickford and he had to run back and tipped it over the bar. So Luca Dean, again, going forward, he didn't do much whatsoever. I can't remember whether he took the corner. He might have took the corner for Calvert-Lewin's header, which was a decent ball in, to be fair. But defensively, I just think he got caught out a couple of times. Mason Holgate is getting a 2. We spoke a couple of weeks ago after the Tottenham game about Mason Holgate and spoke about how he just really isn't in good form at the moment, and he's just really struggling, and he shouldn't be in there. And then, you know, he was given the opportunity last week against Arsenal in a back 2 with Ben Godfrey, very inexperienced back 2, and they played well. They done okay, you know, they kept Arsenal at bay, albeit this was an Arsenal team who had nothing in the game whatsoever, no opportunities, but they done okay. They done what they needed to do. Today I think Mason showed why he's still that inexperienced centre half, and you know, I think for as much as Ben Godfrey didn't have his best of games, I just think the pair of them were a shambles today. Were an absolute shambles. Ollie Watkins ran rings around all of them, and that's what happens. Look, Arsenal didn't have a fit centre forward. Arsenal didn't have a decent centre forward on the pitch for the majority of last week. So Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey were dealing with, you know, players playing out of position or midfield players trying to break the lines, and it was pretty comfortable for them. What we should have actually thought, or what Carlo Ancelotti should have actually thought going into this game was, well, Mason really struggled against Harry Kane, who, okay, is one of the best strikers in the country, I get that. We're now coming up against Ollie Watkins, who is also a decent striker. Ollie Watkins is a good striker. He's a good footballer. He's not one of the best footballers, not one of the best strikers in the country, but he's a decent footballer. And he ran absolute rings around Mason today. The first goal is shocking. Absolutely shocking. It's not only shocking because he turns and he falls on his arse and Watkins just goes and slots it, but it's also shocking because if you watch the replay, Mason's got a pass on to Luca Dean for about 30 seconds and he just completely ignores it and then tries to turn round, loses his feet and loses the physical battle and the battle at pace because Watkins is running with momentum and Holgate isn't. Falls on his arse and we go 1-0 down. He also made the same mistake about 2 minutes before when he was trying to be too cocky. He was indecisive and luckily enough Watkins clapped into him, but he sort of got the pass over to Ben Godfrey and you maybe were thinking, right, you've got away with one there, Mason, don't do that again. What happens 2 minutes later? He does it again, this time we're 1-0 down. Yeah, he's getting a 2. I thought he was really, really poor today. I thought the whole defence, to be honest, was a shambles. I thought we may as well not have played with the defence for the entirety of the game, but I think Mason was poor. Ben Godfrey, I'm gonna give him a 4. To be honest with you, and I feel like I've cursed Ben Godfrey because I sat here last week and said, you know, it's not often that, you know, in fact I sat here and said Ben Godfrey never has a bad game. I said that you don't really give him less than a 7, 8 out of 10, even when we don't play well, even when the defence doesn't play well. Usually Ben Godfrey, you know, is at least a 7, 8 out of 10. I think he struggled massively today in that first half. I really don't think that partnership of him and Mason Holgate helped either of them, to be honest. In the second half, Ben sort of got into his own a little bit and he was moving into midfield, winning the ball back, and that's why his ratings bumped up a little bit because I think he improved drastically in the second half. I think he started to sort himself out a little bit, whereas in the first half I think he just fell victim of everybody else defending dreadfully and he just sort of fell into that trap again. So a couple of times where Watkins got the better of him, where Traore got the better of him, and it's just not the typical Ben Godfrey performance. And I'm not going to sit here and give him a lot of stick because 9 times out of 10, he's, like I said, he's a 7, 8, 9 out of 10 and he's putting in brilliant performances. But today, he just wasn't on it. But, you know, nothing more really needs to be said. He cut the lad a bit of slack. I mean, you know, he's been excellent for 99.9% of his Everton career so far. So one bad game doesn't change much. But, yeah, I'm going to give him a 4 today. Seamus Coleman, I'm going to give him a 5.5. I thought he was the best defender out the 4. Now, that doesn't take much, to be honest. I think if you'd have put me Ma at right back, she'd have been the best defender out of the 4 of them because the other 3 struggled massively. Mate, listen, Seamus should have closed down El Ghazi for the second goal. He simply should have gotten to him. He left him on the edge of the box with loads of space, and it's a really good finish. It is a really good finish, but it's a simple finish. He's curled it round. He's had no pressure on him. He's had nobody tackling him down. Other than that, like I said, I thought Seamus had an alright game. He got forward on a couple of times. Defensively, he was winning the ball back. He was picking the ball back. He was unlucky on a couple of times as well with the ball bounced in difficult positions, and Aston Villa got the better of the bounce. But like I said, I thought he was the best out of the back 4, but it doesn't really take much, to be honest with you. So he's getting a 5.5. Alan in the midfield, he's getting a 6. Again, Everton have an issue with Abdoulaye Doucouré in this midfield. Everton have a massive issue, and that issue is that Alan is a good footballer with the ball at his feet. He intercepts it. Gomez is a decent footballer. Sigurdsson's a decent footballer. Iwobi's a decent footballer. But off the ball, none of them move. There's just no movement whatsoever. There really isn't. And ultimately, when you've got opposition teams who are decent, you know, Premier League, Aston Villa are a decent Premier League team. They're not an unbelievable. When they're coming and they're just walking through your midfield. I said in the instant match reaction, we turned Ross Barkley, who was a player who Dean Smith, his own manager, said, or was supposed to have said 2 or 3 weeks ago, that he doesn't want to sign on a permanent. We made that player look like prime fucking Kaka today. Just walking through the midfield, creating, running rings around. John McGinn doing the same. And that's because these players are good footballers, but off the ball, they're just useless. And that's why Abdoulaye Doucouré is so vitally important to this Everton team, because he's the only midfielder that off the ball does any sort of movement. Maybe Tom Davies as well. Don't know why Tom didn't get on. But anyway, Alan, I've given him a 6. Like I said, on the ball, he made a couple of decent passes. His movement was all right as well. He was getting forward. He was moving his way in and out of the lines. He won the ball back in defensive areas on a couple of occasions as well. Like I said, I thought he had an all right game. Just off the ball, we're just atrocious, absolutely atrocious. But Alan individually, again, on the ball, I thought he played a nice couple of passes, played 2 or 3 really good chipped balls over to Richarlison, something we've seen a lot in the game against Arsenal. He done that again 2 or 3 times, and Richarlison couldn't finish his dinner. So yeah, Alan's getting a 6. Andre Gomez is getting a 5.5. Pretty up and down roller coaster performance by Andre Gomez again. 1 minute he can't pass a ball 10 yards. Next minute he's playing a really nice ball down the line and taking 2 or 3 Aston Villa players out the occasion. But more often than not, it's the first. He struggles to pass a ball 10 yards. Again, I think Andre Gomez is a good footballer, but the reality of the situation is, like I mentioned then, off the ball he's useless, and effective, he's not effective whatsoever. He just isn't effective. He doesn't bring anything to this Everton team that you go, we desperately need that. We desperately need Andre Gomez in there. Maybe brings a little bit of composure at times, but 9 times out of 10 his passing is poor. Okay, he makes the odd really good pass, and he did that today. To be honest, there was a couple of passes that he made that were really good, but more often than not, he loses the ball. He's not quick enough on the turn. He gets caught in possession. So yeah, he's getting a 5.5. Sigurdsson is getting a 6.5, slightly better than Gomez, I thought. Was trying to get forward, was trying to create, was trying to sort of bring Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin into the game. I actually feel a little bit for Gylfi Sigurdsson, because I thought he made 2 or 3 really, really good runs down that sort of inside when Richarlison had the ball or Calvert-Lewin had the ball, and none of them just wanted to pass to him for some weird reason. And I don't know why, because in the last 3 weeks, Gylfi Sigurdsson's been Everton's most clinical player. His goal against Tottenham showed that he's got the technical ability to score. And when we're hearing the news that James Rodriguez has done his calf before the game and he's not going to be available, you're looking at Gylfi Sigurdsson to be that game winner. And I just think there was a couple of times when Richarlison just completely overlooked him. He's free on running past you on the left-hand side. He's free, and Richarlison's trying to take shots himself or play Calvert-Lewin in, who's got 3 defenders around him. But like I said, off the ball, not great, we know that. On the ball, some nice passes, some nice movement, but ultimately it didn't really come of anything, did it? Alex Iwobi is getting a 5.5. Just basically copy and paste what I've just said about Alan or Sigurdsson or Gomez, and place it here as well. Again, Alex Iwobi sort of gets his ball out of his feet, nice little movement, nice little ticky feet, decent pass, and then just stops, as if to say, that's it now, that's my work, dude. It's almost as if he gets the ball out his feet and goes, what's going on? What's up there? He doesn't continue his movement, he doesn't run in behind, he doesn't create space, he doesn't move opposition players out of the way to create space, he just stops. He gets the ball. Yes, he's got nice feet, and there was a couple of occasions today where he was moving the ball out of his feet well, he was passing it well, he played a really good ball into Calvert-Lewin, and he nutmegged a defender on the right-hand side and played a good ball into Calvert-Lewin, and his touch let him down. But off the ball, he just doesn't do enough. And again, effectiveness, he's just not effective enough. His final ball, he had a shot from outside the box, which is landed in my back guard. It's landed in my wheelie bin outside. He had a couple of chances where he could have gone down the right-hand side, and he didn't. He played tame crosses into the box that were easily defendable. He just doesn't do enough in that final bracket. He's a good footballer, he gets the ball out his feet well, he knocks it past players really well. And that's the frustrating thing with Alex Iwobi, is you can see, and you could see at times today, that he's got that bit of ability, he's got that bit of skill to knock the ball past the player, to take a player on, to play a decent pass, but it's always too short, or he then doesn't follow it on with a run. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. No, I'd probably give him a 6, to be honest. In fact, yeah, I'd probably give him a 6, because I think he was better than Gomez. I don't think he was as good as Sigurdsson, but again, just the final ball and just the movements off the ball, it just doesn't seem to be there. And defensively, he wasn't helping Seamus Coleman whatsoever, I don't think. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, then I'll give him a 6.5. Got the goal, of course, which was a great header at the back post, really good cross in, and a really good header at the back post. And he worked really hard for the rest of the game, to be fair to Dom. Again, Dom does what Dom does, and unfortunately it's not what we want to see, but I think he feels like he has to do it, and that's dropping into the midfield to pick the ball up, trying to drop into the midfield and create, and that'd be all well and good if Dominic Calvert-Lewin could pick the ball up from the midfield, take 6 or 7 players on, get to the edge of the box and rifle it in the top corner, maybe like a Harry Kane does, but he can't. So when you know he's picking the ball up on the edge of the box, you know full well that he's only going to play that back off, and then he's not going to be in the right area to receive it from the cross into the box or from the ball into the box. Happy that he got his goal. It was a good header, and I think he's needed that goal, and again I think his work rate was there. I think he worked hard, but ultimately again his shot in the second half has really infuriated me, because he's running with the ball, he's got momentum with the ball, he's running away from goal and he hits it with the outside of his foot. And when we have talked often about Dom's composure and Dom's confidence and Dom losing his head a little bit in those situations, and that was another fine example of it. What he's done there is he's gotten to the edge of the box and he's just gone, shit, I'm going to have to hit this because I've got it at my feet. He could have literally took another second and gone, I can either continue this run, get to a tight angle and then cut across goal, or find the ball into the box, or I can hit it with the inside of my foot and just sort of try and curl it round Emi Martinez. Instead he doesn't, he goes, shit, I've got to shoot, and he just lashes his foot at it and it goes miles wide. And it's that lack of composure that Everton can't afford. We can't afford to have players getting in those areas who have got a lack of composure. We need better finishes of the ball. Look at their winning goal, El Ghazi. Yes, he's given a lot of space. Yes, it's poor defending, but it's curled perfectly around. Nothing Jordan Pickford can do about it. I think we had 3-4 chances outside the box from my recollection. Dom had one, Richarlison had one, Iwobi had one, and Allen had one, and they all ended up in the stands. Near enough every single one of them, except Alan's, which I think went wide by about 3 miles, but just didn't get off the floor. The other 3 ended up in the stands. You can't be having that. And then Richarlison, I've given him a 5.5 as well. Look, a frustrating performance by Richie today. Got on the end of a lot of balls, got on the end of a lot of chipped crosses by Alan, got on the end of a lot of balls in, but ultimately his first touch was decent on occasion as well. His shots were constantly dragged wide. There was one where he was running with the ball, like I said, and he could have fed Gylfi Sigurdsson in perfectly, but he doesn't. If he'd have gone himself and had a shot, I'd have gone, obviously he should have fed Gylfi Sigurdsson in, but he's gone himself and he's had a shot, but he didn't. He tried to feed Dominic Calvert-Lewin in, who had 3, 4, 5 players around him, instead of feeding Gylfi Sigurdsson in, who's free and could have curled it round and made it, I think, 2-1 at that time. Again, decision making poor, finishing poor. Not as, again, I don't particularly blame him for the game, but not good enough by Richarlison. Just not good enough. Carlo's been demanding more, and he should be given more. And then onto the substitutes bench. Then I've given every substitute a 5. To be honest with you, I have. Delph 5. Come on, yeah. Maybe touched the ball a couple of times. Got himself out of a dangerous situation once, I think, but ultimately just shored the game up that we were losing, really. So it was almost like a substitution that you'd bring on, and Carlo has to take blame for that. It was almost like a substitution you'd bring on when you were 2-1 up or 3-1 up, just to shore the game off. We were losing, or we were drawing, leading a winning goal, and we bring, I think we were losing at that time, and we bring on Fabian Delph. Bernard is getting a 5 as well. Moved on a couple of times, nice touches of the ball. Again, don't particularly blame Bernard, didn't really have an awful lot of time on the pitch, didn't do an awful lot with the ball, but I'm not blaming of him. So he's getting a 5, and then Josh King's getting a 5 as well. Look, I think it's evidently clear that Everton don't want to sign Josh King. I think it's evidently clear that Carlo Ancelotti doesn't believe Josh King's good enough, because if he did, he'd think with more than 3 minutes to go, we're at home to Aston Villa. This is a must-win, really, in terms of gaining an advantage on the teams around us and keeping us in that fight for Europe. You probably have given Josh King more than 2.5 minutes to come on. And to be fair to Carlo Ancelotti, Josh King come on, he got a nice touch of the ball, he got himself into a good area, he's absolutely free, yards of space in front of him, and he zags a shot wide. Again, got to be doing better than that. And then Carlo Ancelotti, I think, takes blame for this, to be honest. Firstly, for watching the first 20 minutes and not making a substitution. If I was Carlo Ancelotti, Mason Holgate comes off 20 minutes in and Yerry Mina comes on to just completely shore that defence up before we made any more defensive mistakes. And yeah, again, I understand that we're looking at that Everton bench, there's not much quality on it whatsoever, but bringing players on with 3 minutes to go, bringing players on with 5 minutes to go, what's the point? What is the point? Bring players on with 20 minutes to go, half an hour to go. Like I said in the first half, at half time, say, defensively, this isn't working. We've been dross. They've gotten far too much time, far too much space. I'm making a defensive sub, but he doesn't. And ultimately, yes, it falls on the players. Yes, it falls on the bad defence, but it also falls on the manager for, again, not because let's be honest, 5-10 minutes in, it's 15 minutes in, you could see the defence was having a absolute mare dealing with Ollie Watkins. Why not make a change 20 minutes in, bring Yerry Mina on and just put him on Ollie Watkins and just absolutely completely end Ollie Watkins' night by just putting Yerry Mina on him, a bit of strength, a bit of fight in Yerry Mina, stick him on Ollie Watkins, and then they'd have gone, shit, what's the plan B here? Whereas we didn't. We allowed Ollie Watkins to run the game for the entirety of it, and they didn't need a plan B. Anyway, they're the player ratings. Let me know your thoughts on them in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check out the Football News 365 up in the description. Keeps you up to date with all the latest Everton news and scores. Won't be on Twitter, won't be on Instagram until Tuesday, of course. Still doing the social media blackout. Stop online abuse. It's not okay to abuse anybody, footballers, pundits, fans, people, ex-players, whatever. It's not okay to abuse anybody online and we or in general, and we have to take a stance against this. So if you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, let me know your thoughts in the comments, check out the instant match reaction if you haven't already as well, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Cheers for watching.